in the sidelines of the UNGA meeting that is taking place in New York, the Prime Minister of Haiti, Garry Conille, came out and said that the Haitian government and the security forces in Haiti are nowhere close to winning the war against the gangs that have taken charge of more than 80% of the capital city, Port-au-Prince. Well, the Prime Minister was very adamant to tell world leaders that Haiti needs more assistance. Haiti needs more assistance in terms of security and in terms of finances to secure the nation against the grip of the gang that is terrorizing a lot of citizens in Haiti. Currently, more than 700,000 people in Haiti have been displaced by gang violence, and more than 3,600 people have died just in half a year since this year started as a result of the gang violence that is taking place in Haiti. So the Prime Minister was, in a way, trying to ask world leaders not to forget Haiti, because a lot is going on in the world and funding is going in different places where there is a lot of attention. For example, Gaza and Israel, or Ukraine and Russia. So the Haitian Prime Minister was reminding the world, and specifically countries that have committed to assist Haiti, for example, the US and Canada, that have committed to assist Haiti in terms of finances, that they should not forget the plight of the Haitian people, and that they are supposed to also assist Haiti in the same light that they are assisting other nations in times of war and in times of crisis, the same way that Haiti is going through. The mandate of the MSS forces, that is the Multinational Security Support Organization forces that are in Haiti, led by Kenya, is about to end in a few weeks from now, because from October, that mandate will be ending. And we are very keen to see what will happen at the United Nations Security Council, because it was signed in the UNSC that these forces should now go and deploy in Haiti in October last year, and it was supposed to run only for 1 year. And currently, the Kenyan forces deployed a few months ago, 2 months or two months and a half ago, and much has not yet been done by the Kenyan forces, or to the extent of even the deployment phase has not ended, because only 400 police officers and a dozen Jamaican officers have deployed in Haiti. So we are far from the 2,500 number that was pledged by countries across the world, including Bangladesh, Barbados, Bahamas, and other countries that are in the CARICOM and beyond that were supposed to deploy. Finances have not yet been achieved. The goals, the targets that the US and Canada set have also not yet been achieved. So we are waiting to see what will happen at the UNSC, as the UNSC will take its vote on 30th of September. That is next week. The UNSC will be taking its vote on the deployment and whether there will be a renewal of the MSS forces who will be in Haiti, because other nations have also stepped forward and say that they are ready now to deploy. We know that Jamaica deployed just the other day. I said the dozen of police officers that have been deployed are reconnaissance police officers to go and create the conducive environment for other Jamaicans to deploy. We know that Jamaica pledged to deploy 200 officers in Haiti. So we are waiting to see what the UNSC will decide. That is on 30th of September, where they're going to sit and vote again whether they're going to renew the Haiti mission, the MSS mission, or they're going to have a review of what has been done and perhaps propose a different kind of a mission for Haiti. We are also interested to see how China and Russia are going to react in this mission, because as the UNSC votes, countries can veto, and if a country vetoes, then it means that policy will not pass. So we'll be interested to see what China and Russia will vote, because we understand that these MSS forces are led by Western influence. We know there is a heavy hand of the United States, there is a heavy hand of Canada, and you know that if you're talking about the West, then the UNSC will have France and also UK. So we will be very interested to see what Russia and China will give as their vote or as their recommendations for the MSS forces in Haiti, as well as we have to understand that in the previous vote, in last year's vote, Russia and China abstained. By their abstention, it meant that they didn't have a problem with the deployment of the forces in Haiti. So come this year, 1 year later, we'll be also very, very keen to see what they will say or how they will react, because now we have forces on the ground and now things are getting more real. It's not just theory and paper. The MSS forces has deployed. Other members, other countries are promising to deploy. And as the deployment has already happened, different countries are going to have their opinions on how it should move forward. As the talks continue, the United States released a statement that it will give an additional $160 million for development, economic, health, and security support for the Haitian nation. So we are seeing the United States coming in to fill a void that they know exists. We know that the MSS forces are underfunded, and this is even what the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said at the UNGA, that funding remains totally inadequate for the MSS forces to go and conduct their mandate as they should in Haiti. So the issue of funding has been a challenge for the MSS forces in Haiti, and that has been part of the reason as to why the entire process has been slow, and that is taking center stage in discussions in the UNGA regarding Haiti. All nations agree that there is a need to increase funding, that is including the United States. Antony Blinken was in Haiti himself just a few weeks ago, and he admitted that there is an issue of funding where there is less funding in Haiti, and US and Canada are part of the countries that pledged to deliver their finances to support the MSS forces in Haiti. According to the State Department's spokesperson, that is Matthew Miller, the US State Department spokesperson, there is an open charter about transitioning the MSS forces or the MSS mission to be a fully UN mission, from a UN-backed mission to a UN mission in Haiti, so that they can be able to sort the issue of funding, because as a UN-backed mission, the bulk of support comes from the countries that are leading this mission. That is, if it comes to troops, Kenya has a lot to do, and as well as if it comes to finances, which is perhaps the most important one, it comes to US and Canada. And there has been an issue with financing, and that is why even Secretary Antony Blinken proposed that there should be a transition to a full UN mission in Haiti. And that is what also the State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller wrote in his tweet, that Secretary Blinken spoke with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres about the possibility of transforming the Haiti Multinational Security Support Mission into a UN peacekeeping mission. They discussed the need for sustainable security support for the Haitian people. That means that there is a consensus between leaders that are involved in the MSS mission, including the president of Kenya, that there should be a transition to a UN mission, from the MSS to a UN mission. And that also was reiterated by President Ruto while he was in Haiti. He said that there will be no problem at all if there will be a transition to a UN mission, a full UN mission, that the Kenyan forces will participate fully should the MSS mission be transitioned to be a full UN mission. But the problem is, will the Haitian people agree that there should be a full UN mission in Haiti? We know that previously there has been atrocities by the UN forces in Haiti, and Haitians have that trauma of having UN forces in Haiti. These MSS forces were largely appreciated and accepted by the Haitian citizen because they were not a UN mission. It is a UN-backed, it was a new thing. It's a UN-backed mission, but it is not, they are not the blue helmets. But if you're talking about the UN mission, then we have to discuss about what happened before. There was a cholera outbreak that took place in 2010. where thousands of people lost their lives because the sewage of the place where the UN forces were camping was connected to a river that fed Haitians. The contaminated water led to a cholera outbreak that killed thousands of people in Haiti. And that, coupled with other atrocities that are alleged to have been done by the UN forces in Haiti, led to the people having mistrust and hating the UN forces in Haiti. So that is the trauma that Haitians have with the UN mission in Haiti. And if we are now talking about transitioning the MSS to be a UN mission, then it is going to bring up a lot of discussions whether it will be accepted by the Haitian nationals. There will be a lot of work to do for the Haitian nationals to accept another UN mission in Haiti. And that will be a very, very hard task for the Prime Minister of the day. It will be a hard task for the Presidential Transitional Council, as well as it will be even harder task for the MSS forces, who will now don a blue helmet to represent the UN in Haiti. But if the UN will be involved, then the issue of funding will be put aside, and then the forces that are there are going to ensure that they work towards achieving the mandate that they are supposed to achieve in Haiti. So that is what is coming out from the UNGA so far, that the US has pledged $160 million for development, economic, health, and security assistance for Haiti, that the Haitian Prime Minister said that the government is nowhere close to winning the war and needs much, much more support. And we are anticipating the 30th September vote to see whether the Haitian mission, the MSS mission, will be renewed by the UNSC, as well as the transition from the MSS to a full UN mission, if that is going to achieve, and the dynamics in between.